Hello everybody, come on in, have a seat in front of this nice cozy virtual fireplace that I want to share with all of you. As you know, obviously it's difficult to share a real fireplace together. Well, this is gonna be a little bit different than things I've done normally. The reason for this particular show is that sort of as the months have gone on, there's been lots of questions that sometimes I've not exactly had the most amount of time to get to and try to answer. So I figured, might as well make a place where I can sort of consolidate all the questions. Not only that, but sort of every time I have a piece of news I want to talk about or a little bit of information I want to throw in, I've always got to try to find a time where I'm doing another episode to try to cram that information in. And I just feel like it's not really doing that great of a service. So I figured, why not just make a dedicated sort of show where I answer your questions or I just talk to you about things that are happening that don't really sort of fit with anything else that I'm doing. Not only that, but just these last 2 days in Toronto have been pretty bad in terms of weather. I mean, instead of the nice summer weather, we've just had 2 days of rain, and probably a little bit more rain. And it's not exactly warm outside right now. I think it's only like 14 or 15 degrees, so it's kind of cold. And so, on a day like this, I really sort of just wanted to be in front of a nice fireplace and, talk to you all about stuff. So the very first thing I kind of want to talk about today is Wargaming and the E3 Humble Bundle fiasco that sort of happened right before patch 0.4.0 and the wipe and everything happened. So when the E3 was going on, Humble Bundle came out with this little package that, now for those of you who don't know this, they came out with this little package that, for like $1 you could get all these codes. And these codes included a premium cruiser for the NA server, which was the Murmansk. And it also included, according at the beginning, 7 days of premium, 1,000 premium currency, and like 5 ship slots. And it also gave people access to the closed beta. Now, initially, Wargaming's staff, in particular Gunline on the NA server forums, mentioned that the Murmansk would be credited to people after the wipe happened. And what ended up happening is that when the wipe did occur, the Murmansk wasn't there. So players, who noticed immediately sent support tickets in, and the support staff went, no such thing, those were for closed beta only. And of course that turned into a whole massive fiasco. Now, eventually, and because this has already been dealt with, is that Wargaming did eventually credit people the Murmansk, although the 1,000 premium currency, the 7 days of premium, and the ship slots were left out. I'm not really going to say that what Wargaming, what they did was, let's say, the right thing, the wrong thing. I'm really not going to get into that. But I think from a marketing perspective or from a customer confidence kind of perspective, Wargaming didn't exactly do so well because realistically speaking, the minute that this issue came up, one of the developers should have stepped in and said, okay, hold on guys, we're looking into this and we'll take care of it, don't worry. And I think that would have, sort of really alleviated much of the problem. Instead, nothing was done initially. It was a lot of sort of poor communication, if I want to put it in any kind of way, and players sort of took this issue and really it's sort of spiraled out of control. People started to post that they were going to report them, it was fraud, they were going to sue Wargaming and all that. And really I think that, this is Wargaming's biggest problem, is I think that sometimes they just aren't doing the best job when it comes to communication. I mean, I think had anybody, like one of the staff or one of the people, just sort of stepped onto one of the major forum threads that were going and said, look, we're looking into this, something didn't go according to plan, and we'll get back to all of you in the next 24 hours, sit tight, we're looking into it. I think that would have made a lot of people a lot sort of calmer. Things would have been so bad. So regardless of whether or not the conclusion was good or bad, I just think that Wargaming's handling of the fiasco wasn't exactly so good. And especially for a game that's just about to come out, having rocked the confidence of your customers to the inside and make them not so, not feel so good about your company is not really a great way to launch a video game. Take for example, just throwing this out there. I mean, I think there was this incident where somebody sent Bethesda something like 2,000 bottle caps for a copy of I think it was like Fallout 4, and Bethesda accepted it, like sent the guy a T-shirt or something, or that's the arrangement. I mean, that's good marketing. That's that's a good way to build up that amazing community that Bethesda has. So I think Wargaming could really learn from that. And in terms of communication, I've kind of talked about this before during other times like streams and stuff. If Wargaming's communication was really a lot better, I think they would do a lot better when it comes to just sort of interacting and dealing with their customers. I think their customers would be a lot happier. And sometimes, I mean, can you imagine this? Like, so let's take for example the patches that Wargaming does for the World of Warships game. So, I mean, think about this for a moment. If I was Wargaming and you were the customers and you were the ones who were playing the game, and just out of nowhere I said, oh, by the way, to all of you who are playing World of Warships, I'm going to completely change the way carriers are going to be played. And that's it. That's the patch. If you were the carrier player, what was your reaction to that? Like, wait, what the hell was that for? Why did you change that? And I think that is the communication issue. I think if I was Wargaming, what I would do is I would just simply talk to you guys and I would explain why I implemented something. So let's say hypothetically this is what I say to all of you. I say, so we are going to change carriers, and the reason we're changing carriers a little bit is because in our statistics so far, carriers have been doing significantly more damage than every other ship class. And in order to bring them back to the same level roughly as all the other ship classes, we have nerfed X, Y, and Z. Now, these changes are not going to be permanent because we want to obviously have you guys test it out. If things go bad, we will change it again. I think if there was that kind of communication, I think the players, when they're hit with nerfs or buffs or whatever, will be a lot more accepting of it. And so far, I think that's something that Wargaming is a little bit lacking, just having that communication. So, if anybody from Wargaming ever does watch this, please try to work on the communication a little bit more. I think it'll really help your company a lot more in dealing with your customers, and I think also your customers would be a lot more loyal to your company. Okay, so enough about the the communication problems and the Humble Bundles and all things negative, about Wargaming. Let's talk about the positives for a second. Now, yeah, some people are going to roll their eyes at me and go, what positives? What are you talking about? Okay, so positives is this. We've finally got the wipe. I think the game is now progressing towards open beta. We're assuming probably by the end of this month, beginning of next month is when open beta is going to hit. Probably in time for the July the 4th weekend too. But, alright. Now, with the new wipe and of course patch 0.4.0 coming out, there are people who are already shouting for, sort of overpowered, underpowered, this needs a buff, this needs a nerf, and off goes the forums again. And, and people have this, I don't know, this feeling that maybe Wargaming isn't listening or isn't, listening to things and isn't trying to change things for the better, and instead trying to change things for the worst. And I think the truth of the matter is that I think that what people need to realize is that Wargaming is trying their best to release a good game. And while their changes, like I mentioned earlier, are poorly communicated at times, I do think they are trying their best and they are, sort of adjusting things, shall we say, when, changes or recommendations or suggestions are being put forward. And the reason why I say this is because I think during the public test or just prior to the public test, they had changed the carrier spread again, and the carrier spread had sort of the reticule had changed into something different, and there was a lot of complaints, and I think they listened, and that's why the patch that we see right now on the closed, soon to be open beta servers has sort of reverted back to the original, I think it's like 0.3.1.3 reticule. So I think that they are doing their job when it comes to changes. If they implement something that I think is bad, I think they are realizing it by looking at statistics and whatever, and they are changing it. So give Wargaming a chance. That's what I think I'm trying to tell all of you, is just give them a chance to do what they're doing, and we might be surprised. I mean, they're not great at communication, but I do think they're trying their best at making a good game. So, sit tight. We're all in this for, this whole journey, and hopefully eventually we get a pretty darn good game to play. Some of you have asked about whether or not I'm going to be updating the Captain's Academy videos, and to that I can answer very clearly is yes, I will. I am starting to have more and more free time because most of my students that I've been tutoring are taking off for the summer, so I am going to have more time starting July the 1st, and that's when I'll be starting to update a lot of the Captain's Academy videos to make them in line with patch 0.4.0. There is something that is currently not too great with the new 0.4.0 patch, and that has to do with the economy. If you think about, for example, World of Tanks economy, now World of Tanks, credits aren't easy to come by, but if you have a premium account it helps. But everything is still reasonably priced, and if you buy a premium tank, then you can make a decent amount of credits. In the current World of Warships game, what I'm finding is that I have a premium account, I'm playing my premium ships, and I'm still struggling for credits. Like really struggling. And things are really expensive. I mean, if you think about World of Tanks for a minute, like the most expensive module is what, 500k credits? The most expensive one in Warships is 6 times that cost at 3 million credits, for a module. Absolutely insane. Because I don't think there's really any way right now with the current credit gain to make that amount of credits. So I really think that this is something that Wargaming might need to look at in a bit more detail and just sort of reevaluate it and just make it a more feasible economy, something that is indeed very important and something that I hope changes quite soon. And finally, I'm going to answer one last question that I've seen being posted on some of the other videos, which is, am I going to be making more Know Your Ship videos? And the answer to that question is absolutely. You're kidding? I absolutely love making those videos. I'm planning to make a trip to, I guess it's a bit of a city, not too far away from Toronto, but I think about an hour to an hour and a half's drive away, where the HMCS Haida is parked, and that's a tribal class destroyer. So I'm hoping that when the weather is a little bit better than it is today, that I'll be making a trip there, take some footage of that ship, and then make a brand new Know Your Ship series video on the tribal class destroyers. So look forward to that because it is certainly coming. And I think that brings us to the end of the video. So I just want to thank all of you for taking the time today to sit with me and listen to me talk for, well, about 12 to 13 minutes. If you have any questions or you have anything that you want me to answer, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll try my best to answer them in the next video. Aside from all that, I hope you all take care, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you all on the high seas.